While we're waiting for people to join, we will have a little fun with ChatGPT. I just typed in, this is ChatGPT. I typed in, I'm hosting a webinar for Rotary on how to use AI. Can you provide a joke to start off the event? We'll see how bad or good it does. It will be interesting to see. Oh, this is horrible. Before we get started, I asked AI to help me write this presentation. It responded, sure, but only if you agree to call it a Rotarian intelligence from now on. Obviously not very good. Before I did this presentation at conference, I asked it to write a joke, and it did a much better job about how many Rotarians it takes to get something done. So I wish I had saved that, but I don't. So we'll get started in a couple of minutes. So I think we're a little short. Lizzie had said that there were like 40 people signed up. So it doesn't look like we have 40 people here today. We'll just get started with those that are here. So thank you everybody for joining us. I'm sure we'll have some people joining in as we come along. So everybody hear me?
Yes.
Great. So my name is Ken Schmidt. I am Vice President from Baldwinsville Rotary. I'm also a local business owner. I own a company that provides guidance to cell tower landowners across the United States. We advise landowners on the value of leases when they're approached by AT&T, et cetera. The genesis for my background in AI and what brought about this presentation over the last couple of years was that my company is a consulting firm. We deal heavily in data. We deal with a lot of, we've had about 4,000 clients over the last 20 years. And I could see that AI was going to have a fairly profound impact on the consulting businesses in general. If AI is smart enough, or it has the ability to search over all types of content and aggregate it and do so in minutes, there's a lot that it can do. And certainly, my immediate fear when I started was that it would make some of our business obsolete. So as I started getting into it further and further, though, I realized that there was a lot of opportunity that came along with using AI. And we dove into using AI both feet, forward. So I got my staff involved. I got everything, and as we were using it, I started to see, avenues for utility for Rotary as well. So this is, if you were at conference, this is the same presentation, fairly similar with some different examples at the end. I won't be as abbreviated because I've actually got an hour today as opposed to like 30 something minutes. And so you'll see a couple more examples at the end. So first and foremost, my objective tonight is twofold. It's first to give you some background and some rules and guidance in terms of how best to use AI for anything, not just Rotary. And then secondly, I'm going to do some demonstrations, not necessarily just to show you how it does on those certain aspects or those certain questions or prompts, but more so to help illuminate how to use AI, specifically ChatGPT, in Rotary type events or for brainstorming or other things. All right. So AI is artificial intelligence. It's when computers or machines are designed to think and learn like humans to solve problems or make decisions. It's a fairly generic definition because AI is fairly generic. There are many types of AI. There are many ways of using AI. AI has been around 40, 50 years. There's been somebody that was on I did this presentation for Albany at lunchtime, and somebody that was on there said that they were working on AI, as far back as the 50s. And so, artificial intelligence has been around. It's just advanced extremely fast within the last couple of years and become much more visible and useful to the average person where it wasn't before. Again, our objective today is to show you and give you some inspiration in terms of how to use AI to benefit your club and its missions. So I told you before, I started off with the joke that it did. This is something that AI created, along with pretty much most of what you're going to see tonight was either the result of asking AI to, ChatGPT to brainstorm, to give me concepts, to give me thoughts, et cetera, about to put into this presentation, to give me images, et cetera. So a lot of what you're seeing tonight is created by AI. This particular joke was something that I asked it to create relative to our Seneca River Days, where we do, like many Rotary Clubs, a duck float or duck pluck in our case, because too many of us got tired of going into the water and fishing the ducks out. You can see that this is, for a joke created by an AI, it's not bad. It's not that funny either. A Rotarian walks into a bar and says, "Put it on my bill," right after the duck pluck. So at least it got contextually the relationship between Rotary, et cetera. I also asked it to create an image that went along with this joke, and it did a better job on the image than it did on the joke itself. So harder to do when we're not in person, but how many of you have used AI in any shape or form? Great. So let's talk about why your club or why you should be using AI. There are two main reasons that I advocate for using AI. The first is it's a force multiplier. As Rotary has shrunk a little bit overall in terms of membership, individual clubs may be getting smaller, they may be getting larger, et cetera. There's no shortage of things, though, that for us as Rotarians to be doing. I find, at the board meetings, et cetera, I think one of our common things that we talk about at the board level is we've got a lot of people that want to do volunteer work, but not a lot of people that want to lead it. Or, up until recently for our particular club, Lizzie did a lot of our graphic work because she's just so darn good at it. With AI, we have additional resources now to be able to do things that would have taken time. For me, this has been invaluable. So there are numerous times where I've used AI to do something Rotary related, either in a leadership position or in a committee position, et cetera, to help do something that I probably wouldn't have done if it had taken me the normal level of time if I had to do it manually. So it's a force multiplier. It helps us do more as clubs and as individuals. And secondly, it can help us fill the skill gaps. Your club may not have a graphic artist, or it may not have a social media coordinator. Maybe it does, that's great. Maybe it doesn't have somebody that knows technology. AI can fill those roles and those gaps. It's just knowing what to ask AI to get the answers that you're looking for. And I'll show some examples later. But again, the two main reasons are that it helps us do a lot more, both from a time standpoint with the time that we have, and from a skill standpoint, filling in those skills that we may not necessarily be strong on, or that would take us a substantial amount of time to do. So here's how we use AI, and specifically me. And I'll get granular in terms of the types of AIs that we use. Mostly we're using what are known as large language models. The ChatGPT, Google Gemini are examples of these large language models. This is what most people, that's the interface that they're using to connect to some type of AI. A large language model works by having gone out and aggregated everything it could potentially find on the internet and training on it. It reads and absorbs and it stores it. And until recently, it was costly, and the programming power wasn't there to be able to use it. ChatGPT and others, though, have done an excellent job of being able to I hate to say regurgitate, but put back information to you very quickly from a wealth of information in a way that has never been possible except for large, mainframe type computers. And even that only in the last 5-10 years. We use ChatGPT, which is one of the large language models. There's a free and a paid version. The free version is free, but it has limitations. The paid version is $20 or $200, or they even have a $200,000 version. Realistically, the $20 version is more than enough for almost everybody. We use it for ideation and brainstorming. It's wonderful about brainstorming on any topic you might find of interest. Generating social media posts, even if we're not social media experts. Article and content writing, both for newsletters, for sponsor letters, all types of things we can do with AI. Not that we couldn't do it by person, but it's just much easier to use AI to do it. And the results, candidly, in most cases are better. Summaries of documents. I'll show you an example of something that we've done with something really fun and nerdy that we've done with the Rotary Constitution and bylaws in a little bit. Graphics, images, just like that that graphic that we provided before of the duck joke. That's an example. And then deep research. Again, I'll come back and I'll show you some examples of how each of these would be used, or you can use them within ChatGPT or Gemini. Google Gemini is Google's alternative to ChatGPT. It's equally good as ChatGPT. We do pretty much the same thing within it. The only big difference, though, and I'll give an example later, is Notebook LM, and I'll show you why it's different and what makes it unique or beneficial in some ways. And then I'll give you an example of a podcast that Notebook LM created just for fun. Canva. This presentation was created in Canva. Canva is a media generation tool for generating graphics, presentations, social media posts, those types of things. Lizzie uses it extensively, so most of the things that you see coming out of Lizzie at the district level come out of this. I will be sharing this presentation with everybody. I'll make sure to distribute it, get it to Lizzie, and she can send it out to everybody. And then I'll also send out some sample prompts that I've used as part of our demonstrations today, so you can see those. And then Otter AI. We use Otter AI at our board meetings or other meetings. Otter AI is a meeting summary tool. I have it on my phone. And I just go in and I go to Otter AI, I set it down on the table, it records the meeting, it transcribes it, and then it goes through the transcription and it provides summaries of what everybody said. It provides a list of the action items that we were to take. It records votes or other things, and it puts together a very nice summary of it. So if you're finding that it's hard to keep up with meetings, et cetera, I'm sure your secretary would applaud getting access to Otter IA for the meetings. All right. So next, I'm just going to share some rules, some tips and tricks about how to get good information back from AI. specifically in this case ChatGPT, but it works fairly similarly between all of the various AIs and large language models that you might try to use. First and foremost, the best AI is the one that you use. That's a quote from me, simply suggesting that one of the most beneficial tools that I've come across in my last 55 years, as of next month, is ChatGPT. I use it 5-10 times a day. In my personal life, I use it in my professional life, I use it in my volunteer life. For example, we had a business project that came in that required the use of GIS software, and that's geographic information system software. And it's basically mapping, it's fairly complex mapping of sites and of locations, et cetera. I don't know how to use that particular software, the open source software, but I knew what I wanted to do. And so I went in with a window for that software and ChatGPT open next to me. And I could literally put in, here's what I want to do into ChatGPT, and then ChatGPT would spit out a set of directions. And I could reference the files that I was using and what I was trying to do with it. And then it would give me suggestions or actual specific information and suggestions about how to do it. Then when I ran into problems with it, because it wasn't doing what I thought it should be doing, I could take a screenshot of my screen from the GIS software, drop it into ChatGPT and say, what am I doing wrong? And it would tell me what I was doing wrong. Another example is yesterday, my son and I, he started a lawn mowing business using our lawnmower, of course, to go around and mow other people's yards and some of our rental properties and whatnot. And we took apart our John Deere lawn tractor, to put on some mulching equipment. And we figured out fairly quickly that it wasn't working as it should. I was able to take a picture of the bottom of the lawnmower, upload it to ChatGPT, tell it what was going on, that we had just switched out to mulching equipment on the John Deere tractor, and then ask it why was it acting in the way that it was. And the first recommendation was exactly what we had done wrong. So within minutes, it told me what I would have had to probably have gone, if I hadn't been able to figure it out myself with hard effort, would have probably had to go to the John Deere tractor people to have fixed. Again, so the point that I'm making here is there's a lot of utility, even in day-to-day life. I keep it definitely on my phone. I keep it on my desktop. And like I say, I use it 5 to 10 times a day. It's the best $20 that I spend on a service of anything that I have. So when you start thinking about using AI, or even going into it, what you use is a prompt. A prompt is the question, it's the technique or the way that you ask AI to give you back an answer. Okay. So we start small and we grow from there. We're used to going into Google. If you're used to using the internet and going into Google and doing a search, you're going to get back the same results. You put in your question, and it's going to give you what it thinks you're asking about, and then it's going to give you links to each of those things, to each of the websites that it thinks are helpful to you. And then you end up going in and checking each of those links to value or determine how good was Google at telling me what it thinks I want to know. AI is different. ChatGPT is different in that you ask it a question, it will give you back an answer. And then if I don't like that answer or I need more information, I can ask additional questions. And so what I'm saying here is that you can start with a fairly simple question, but unlike Google, it's a relationship or it's a conversation back and forth with the AI to get to where you want it to be. So start small. If it's intimidating, start small, put in a fairly simple question, and then work forward from there to get a better answer. Help AI to help you. So what I mean by this is that the better information you give to the AI about the context of your question, the results that you're looking for, et cetera, the better that you do that up front, the better the answer that you're going to get back. And if it doesn't give you a good answer, providing it with feedback of how to correct it to give you a better answer helps it give you yet a better answer. So the first thing that I think is most important is that it's helpful to tell the AI what role you want it to assume. I am an attorney. I'm the district governor of Rotary District such and such. I am a father. Please provide this type of information. So you want it to feed it and you want to tell the AI what you would like back in what format. I would like you to provide 2 pages of information about this particular topic. I'd like it bullet pointed, and I'd like it written for a 10th grader. I'd like flashcards. I'd like an outline. I'd like you to give me ideas to start off with that then I can pick from. I'd like to give you give me 10 ideas that I can start working with. So if I tell it what I'm trying, who I'm supposed to be, I'm a cell tower lease consultant. I need information about AT&T and their build plans for 2026. I'd like a 2-page report back on that topic. And I'd like you to provide sources for it. The more specific I am going in, the better the answer is that I'm going to get back. And then lastly, once AI gives you an answer, provide it with feedback. Tell it what you like or don't like about its response. If you know something that AI doesn't know, call it on it. There are times where I'll say, no, you're wrong. I know this because this is my business. And then it will do some research in it, or either it's going to apologize and we'll talk about how wrong AI can be. But ultimately, it's up to you to give it the feedback and then ask it. And if you're not getting across or it's not understanding what you're asking it to do, you can even ask it how to write a prompt to get you the information that you're looking for. You're missing what I'm doing here. Could you write a prompt that will give me the information that I need from XYZ in the format that I'm doing? And then it will give you a prompt that you can then copy and put back into ChatGPT or AI. Number 4, verify everything. So you've heard or should hear or should know that AI is wrong. It can be wrong. It can be miserably wrong. It can make up stuff. There are no shortage of situations where people have gone in. There are lawyers that have used ChatGPT to write a case brief and then submitted it only to find that the case references within the brief were completely made up and did not exist. My point being that it's a tool, it's a very good tool, but it also can be a wrong tool. And so before I put out anything, I read it myself. I will ask AI for sources. I did it just earlier today. I was like, where did you get the citation for this particular thing? How did you come to that conclusion? And it gave me a source, and I've read that particular company's business or research reports, and I knew that they weren't any good. So I said, please ignore that as part of your answer and see if you can find other places where that information exists. Hopefully you're seeing that there's a very, as opposed to going and searching for something on the web, which is very one-sided, it's a conversational tool back and forth. I advocate for, as a way of thinking about this, as the 15-70-15 rule. Basically, that you're going to spend 30% of the time necessary to make AI give you a good answer. It's not going to turn around and do everything for you 100% of the work. What you're going to do, though, is spend 15% of the time up front making sure that you're giving it a good prompt, that you're telling it exactly what you want, so that AI can go in, spend the time doing the research, generating the thing for you, And then you're going to read that at the backside, and then 15% on the time on the backside, verifying and improving the response by asking it questions, asking for refinements, etc. And I'll demonstrate some of this shortly. All right. If you are using the free versions of any AI, your information is not yours. Any private information you put into it may be used for training, meaning that it could potentially share it with other people. It could potentially use it for its own benefit. So if you're using a free version, just be aware that your expectations of privacy are limited. On the paid versions, there's higher levels of restriction in terms of using information. You can turn off training, meaning that it will not use your information to train the model going forward. You can turn off the memory by saying, I don't want you to remember anything that I'm asking you here. You can then still go in and delete the prompts that you did to make sure that it can't go back and find them. And then lastly, most importantly, if you're putting personal information in there, obviously never put in credit card or address or other things, or stuff like that. You can anonymize the personal information. So like we work with cell tower leases, if I put a cell tower lease in there, I will redact the address and I'll redact the name of the parties before I add that up to ChatGPT to go about and read it, because I don't want that information, which is our client's information, to do so. Same thing with Rotary information about members or anything like that. There's benefits to using ChatGPT and others to do analysis and review spreadsheets, etc. You just want to make sure that there's no private information included. So again, another reason for spending the $20, having at least one account that you can use that has increased privacy and security settings. And both ChatGPT, Gemini, all have those options. The dictum is, if the product is free, then you're the product. Meaning that if you're giving it information, but it's taking it for free, then it's doing it because it's getting something back out of it. And so you're the product that it's selling. All right. Before I move on to examples, are there any questions? All right. Great. Before I go forward, my email address is here, broadcast9@gmail.com. I'm Ken Schmidt. If you ever have any questions about AI, et cetera, or anything that we talked about in this presentation, feel free to email me. I'll be happy to answer. It may take me a little while, but I will get back to you. All right. So let's start with a little fun one. We talked earlier about how large language models use information that you put into it. One of the things is that I run into is that when I do a prompt within ChatGPT, it's going out and it's using all of the information that it has available to answer that prompt, whether it's right or wrong. One of the AIs got in trouble recently because it started spitting out anti-Semitic responses to chats that were being entered into it. It's because that information is out there in the information that it trained on the normal web. It's that information, part of free speech. It's what people were putting out there, etc. Maybe it's undesirable free speech, but it's still free speech. And so they had done a poor job of restricting the response to the information or responses that would not be offending to people. What's good about Notebook LM, and this is a Google product, as part of Gemini or as a separate research tool too, you can add sources. So what I've done here, I was responsible for rewriting our club bylaws. So I went in and I uploaded our club proposed bylaws, the Rotary's recommended bylaws, the standard Rotary Club constitution, and the code of policies for Rotary International. This information is loaded in here. And it means that in Notebook LM, the only thing this AI will draw from to answer questions is this information, and that's it. It doesn't go out to the web, so you can put in your content and expect it to stay within that content and not look elsewhere for it. I used this yesterday because we were at our board meeting, and one of the board members had said, they believe that we as a Rotary Club are unable to do fundraising events if the primary purpose of that fundraising event is to raise money for the club. So I went in, having already set this up, and I could go in and immediately ask, is it permissible for a Rotary Club to run a fundraiser if the proceeds go back to the club for club operations? And so it's only looking in these in the bylaws and the Constitution, et cetera, to answer this question. It's not looking anywhere else. And so, yes, it is permissible to run a fundraiser with the proceeds going back to the club for its operations. I can't tell you that this is correct. I didn't go in and research this, so I'm not holding this out as the authority. I'm just saying you could see the example here. You may not have a parliamentarian. Our president reached out to me recently and said, can we have a video vote for a particular topic coming up? And I'm like, well, no, because we haven't, in our proposed bylaws, we're allowed to do that, but we can't do it now. And I can cite to the exact location within it. So again, just a tool that can be used to put in information, to store a bunch of information, and then use AI to get back answers or other things from it. And so here's just a little fun one for us. So one of the cool things about it, I don't know that it's that useful, but one of the cool things about it is that it will create a podcast based on this information.
All right, so you've given us a real challenge this time with this huge stack of Rotary International documents, constitutions, bylaws, everything you can imagine.
Yeah.
We're really going deep into this global organization's rulebook. I have to admit, when I first saw this stack, I thought, oh boy, this is going to be a little dry.
Right.
But some of this stuff is really...
So what it's done is it's created a podcast that sounds listenable to between two people talking about a very boring topic. I mean, I'm sure it's exciting to somebody, but the bylaws and the Rotary Constitution, et cetera. But it's created a podcast about that topic. It can do this with any topic or anything you put in there. So if you were trying to make something entertaining, you could actually use the audio overview here within Google Notebook LM to do it. So this is just one tool. I like sharing this one specifically because the podcast is just interesting to see what AI can do, but also because it addresses one of the fundamental issues is that sometimes the AI models are pulling information from places that it shouldn't or that ultimately are wrong. If I know what information goes in here, I'm pretty limited and I know what's going to happen. All right. We're going to switch to ChatGPT. And
Can I ask you a question, Ken?
please.
When you said you provided the source material, did you upload documents? And that's how you provided it?
Yes. So I can go in here and see where it says add source. Up here, I can add a document to it. I can add a transcript. I can add photos. I can add a video. I can add those things in here as sources, and that's what it will rely upon.
Excuse me, Ken, is it possible to do budgeting spreadsheets, things like that?
Yes.
So if I'm setting up a budget, I could put in 12 months worth of monthly spreadsheets, and I would have to learn how to ask it the right question
Yeah, you would go
Probably
in
they
and
were,
I'd like to create a Rotary budget. Here are 12 months worth of spreadsheets of our operating expenses and our cost, et cetera. Could you take all of these and aggregate them into, an annual budget going forward? Again, just having experience with things like this, it's going to do about a 90% job. It's going to help you and it's going to lay it out, but you've still got to go through and look at all those numbers and make sure that they're correct. All right. So I want to spend a minute just going through, because we have a decent amount of time. I just want to go through and I just want to show you parts of ChatGPT. Each of the AIs is slightly different, but they work fundamentally the same. So this is your standard ChatGPT window. This is the desktop version. I have it on my computer. This is like software on my computer as opposed. I could do this on a web browser as well. The fundamental parts, this is your window right here. Down here, this is where you put in your prompts. The prompt, again, is a request to ChatGPT to do something. Each time I put this in, it's a chat. So I'm going to start with a new chat. And so it's erased the stuff that it's done. I have all my old chats here that I've done previously, like humane squirrel capture. I'm having problems with squirrels, of course. And I can go in and I can search my old chats. I can open up one of these chats and see the one that I did previously. You can also create projects where you can store multiple chats together. So like I have one for our Seneca River Day, which I'll use in a second to demonstrate some things that ChatGPT does quite well. I have other things in here for business or otherwise, broader things for Rotary goals, et cetera. Some preparation for this. So these are your projects. A project is an individual place to store multiple chats. And then you have individual chats that you've done, and each one of those is a prompt or a series of prompts back and forth. So in this, there are two other main components. There's the model selection. Generally, I would choose O4 Mini. O4 Mini is a reasoning model, which means that it's actually thinking about how to answer your question. GPT-4o is the basic one. I use this if I just want a quick answer and I know that the information is readily out there on the web. Again, if you're trying to get something, if you're trying to do something analytical or that takes a little bit more intelligence, I would use the O4 Mini or O3. The O3 is the strongest one, but it takes a long time to get an answer back. These are your models. Again, I just went up and I selected them here by dropping down this window. I'm going to use ChatGPT, the 4o model, which is their basic model, just for some of the stuff that we're going to do here today. There are multiple ways of communicating back and forth with ChatGPT. I can dictate to it. Please tell me AT&T's wireless CapEx plans for 2025. It's going to transcribe it, and then I can hit enter. That's the up arrow button. And then it's going to go through and it's going to give me an answer based on that question. And so the answer itself isn't important. What I just wanted to show you was how to interact with ChatGPT. Conversely, I can also use, hold on, let me just stop this first. I can also, let's do a new chat. I can also go in and use voice mode. I can do this on my phone. I can do this on the computer. Voice mode is talking back and forth with ChatGPT. For example, I went cycling down in Geneva this past Sunday, and on my way back and forth, I had a conversation with ChatGPT about some things we're trying to plan for our company. So I could sit, even though I was driving, I could sit and talk to it over my car, with my hands free and have a conversation. So I could say, Hi, Chatty.
Hey, Ken, how's it going? What's on your
My
mind today?
Rotary Club is having difficulty in getting people to step up and do leadership positions. They're great with volunteering, but sometimes they don't want to actually take on more leadership positions. And as a result, we find that we're missing out on projects that we've done in the past because we just don't have anybody to lead them. What suggestions do you have?
Yeah, that's a pretty common challenge for a lot of volunteer organizations. Sometimes people might be a little bit intimidated by the idea of taking on a leadership role. So sometimes it's helpful to break those roles down into smaller, more manageable tasks, or maybe have some mentorship from people who've done it before. Sometimes that helps a lot.
Can you give me some specific recommendations on how to encourage people to learn more about the leadership positions?
One idea could be to host an informal info session where people who have been in those leadership roles can share their experiences and kind of demystify it a bit. You could also do something like a co-leadership model where two people share the responsibilities, so it's not all on one person. And maybe just recognizing and celebrating the leaders you do have may inspire others to step up.
So I did this as a voice chat, but it actually wrote it out, and I have that right here that it fed back to me. So I could continue the conversation, please, and then just type in a normal request. Please give me 3 tools to use to encourage leadership, or 3 books or whatever. And then it's going to provide a response: leadership development matrix, peer mentorship, roles rotating system, etc. So I'm not here to tell you these are all great answers or not. I don't know, but it's brainstorming. It helps me think about it. It helps me have that conversation back and forth. And the good thing is that I can do it in a way that I am most comfortable with at that time, having that conversation or that prompting with ChatGPT. If we go back and you recall, I told it who I was, why I was asking, and I gave it enough information about what's happening with our club and leadership situations to allow it to give me good answers back. And then I came back in, I can ask it further questions, whether it's verbally, whether it's dictation, whether it's in writing, directly within ChatGPT. All right, questions on this so far?
And is there any time limit on getting continuing the dialogue with the ChatGPT? So
Nope.
you're doing this in the car, somewhere, somehow this got printed up somewhere and saved. You get back home and say, "Oh, geez, I forgot to ask it this." You go in and you can continue the stream
Yep.
here of.
So here, I went back to the wireless CapEx question. Now I can go back to that earlier that prompt here, the chat that I had while in the car about leadership. I can even go in and I can rename this Rotary Leadership, so that I know that I can come back to it, and I could start back at where I was at the end of this and just get right back into it. I could also put this in my Rotary project folder so that it's stored there in this for future requests as well, so I know where it is. Some of these features, I don't know that all these features are available on the free version. I'm not sure that projects are. I know that it's available on the $20 version. So one of the cool things that I love particularly about ChatGPT, or that Google Gemini does as well, is that I can upload photos and it can read them and review them. So one of the examples I did today for the Albany Club, so I went to their Facebook page and I downloaded a Facebook post that they had about a fashion show that they did with Big Brothers Big Sisters, etc. And then I said, please see this image, please research the event and create a press release about it and Rotary's involvement. I also gave it a link to the post, which ultimately was unhelpful because it couldn't read that post, but it could see this. And so it immediately wrote, and it took no time at all, it wrote up a press release based on the information that was in this image, a screenshot of a Facebook post. It can do this with anything, with any photo or any graphic or any document, et cetera, that you upload into it. It can create content based on that you've uploaded. So it did a fairly good job. It's probably something that I would have to go back in and edit, if I knew more about this event, or the club could do it. But you can see that this was done in seconds. I mean, you can't see it here, but it took seconds for it to generate this once I uploaded that image. Now I can go in here, I can highlight it. I'm just left clicking and holding it over. And you see how I do that. It's highlighted and then it says Ask ChatGPT. I can click on ChatGPT and now it's put it down here, just that section. And it knows that I'm asking the question just about that highlighted portion. And I can go in and I can say, please expand this section. Do you need more information? And so it comes back in and asks me questions to help me flush this out. I don't know these answers, but if I was part of this Rotary Club, I could go back in and say, we raised $2,207. What funds specifically supported this? We had a donor that came in and gave money. This is going to be used exclusively for the Big Brothers Big Sisters. The Rotary itself gave volunteer hours, and then I could provide a quote or other thing, and it would round out and include that within that press release. Again, we talked about earlier about using iteration, going in, asking it something, and then telling it what you need it to do that it's not automatically doing, helping it to get to exactly where you want. When I'm done with this information, so I can go up here. One of the next things I did, I can go in here, and once I have this here, I can go in and I can copy it, and then I can download it. And I can put it in my own Word document, and then I could send it to a newspaper. Or I can edit it in what's called the canvas, and that allows me, it's like a Word document. I can go in here and just start typing within the response, and then I can save it, and then it would save to the chat, and then it's there. All right. So what I did next, because there's so many things you can do with this once I have that content, I asked it to create a graphic for social media using just the information that it wrote up in its own press release. And this is what it created. It took virtually no time, and it takes longer to do a graphic. It probably took a minute to do this as opposed to the 5 seconds that it took to write the content. But you could see that I could take this. I was talking before about social media. I could take this directly, put it onto my Facebook, along with that, with the information, the press release, and I'm done. I don't even have to do further stuff. I also asked it then to provide 5 social media posts for Facebook promoting the event. I could have said LinkedIn. I could have said for our club runner, I could have done anything, and it would have come back and it provided me 5 posts that are copied that I could have just copied, including adding photos of the event, etc., into Facebook and be done with it. And I would have done this all. I did all of this, everything that you see here, within 3 minutes of my earlier conversation with Albany Rotary. So all of this, my point being, is not that obviously you'll find your own uses for it, but again, asking ChatGPT to do things, you'll be surprised more often than not at what it's capable of doing, even if you didn't think that it could do it.
And
So
how
I
did
asked
how did ChatGPT know to put the Rotary brand on your poster?
So again, it's trained. So it's gone out, it's looked at, there's millions of websites out there that have Rotary stuff. So like, I asked it at one point, before I did the district thing or the conference, district conference, I asked it to go out and then, give me a list of all the Rotary clubs, where they're at. And it put together a spreadsheet with all that information by going from one Rotary website to another. I asked it, I was also working or doing some volunteer work for the service committee at the district level. And I asked it to go out and do a research project for me of finding all of the Rotary's service projects that had been done by any of the clubs in the district over the last 5 years. And it did a very good job. It provided a spreadsheet back with that type of information. The whole point is that we should not presume to know what ChatGPT or can or can't do, because again, you're going to find more often that it does a good job, or at least a much better job, or it gets you closer to where you want to be, by asking those questions. All right, questions on that so far? All right. So here is, we're not going to be able to do a live demonstration of this, but I'll show you something that works very well. So I could type in here. So I'm on the Seneca River Day Committee. I was previously chair. Thank goodness I'm no longer doing that. But I can go in and I can ask it to help do research on sponsors within the area. I can say, oh, let me just pull up the project I did previously. So here's a live example. So Great Lakes Honda had reacted to one of our solicitations to them of being a sponsor, for our Seneca River Days. And they were offering, a fairly attractive sponsorship package. And so the person that was running sponsorship, reached out to me and asked, could I help write, research them and then write them a letter that was specific to them. And so I could put in here, could you please research them or other charities that they have sponsored? Please write a summary of the event by looking at Seneca River Days. I gave it the information of our website and then said, draft a short one-page letter that speaks to them. And so this is what it gave me back. It gave me a perfectly great letter that I don't even have to do anything to, that we could send over to Great Lakes Honda that was custom for them, as opposed to just a generic question. And then I can say, we sent them an initial letter. They responded favorably in considering a donation of $2,000 and $3,000. So it could iterate and share specific, it could respond directly to that and write a custom email or custom, sponsorship letter, directly to them. And it took, again, all of this took 1-2 minutes. It took me longer to type it in than it took ChatGPT to respond. Let's see where where's my poster? I love this one. So please create a social media ad announcing Seneca River Days for Facebook. And so it looked at our website. I gave it the website and then it looked at it and then it gave me the social media post here. And then I said, please create an image for the post that has a vintage feel and emphasizes food trucks and fireworks and bands. And this is what it created without any prompting or further prompting. That's its first iteration of what I asked for. And it was perfect. We didn't have to do anything to it. So as I was talking about before, maybe you don't have a social media person or a graphics person readily available. ChatGPT can do that directly. All right, one more example, and then we will do some questions, and then we'll break for the evening. So one of the most powerful tools here, right here, is deep research. I think you can only do one or two of these, a month on the free version. On the paid version, you have a limitation, and that's because it does a very deep dive into the information that you're searching. And so, for example, one of the ones that I did was, please research Syracuse area events and find the sponsors, find any sponsors that sponsored these events. Please create a spreadsheet with the name of the event, the sponsor, the amount sponsored, and a column describing what they got back in return for sponsoring the event. And so, because I want this to be thorough, I go in here and I click on deep research. And that means that instead of just giving me an answer, it's going to think about it. It's going to research it heavily. And then it's going to, before it even starts, it's going to ask me questions. So it immediately asks me questions. So it helps focus the response that it gives me. So I'm going to say, what time should I focus on? The last 3 years, specific types of events, nonprofit, no, any event with non-profit sponsors or any event with sponsorship. You want only events in Syracuse proper or including surrounding areas like Baldwinsville and Greater Onondaga. So I'll put the metropolitan area, including outlying cities and towns. And then is there a minimum sponsorship? 250 or more. And so then it starts researching. What's kind of cool is it will start to tell you how it's researching it. And you'll see up here in a second, once it starts getting into it, what sources it's looking at, how it's thinking about. It's going to spit back and tell me what it thinks I'm asking. And I can actually stop it at any point and then give more iteration. This typically takes, when I do deep research, we're not going to see a result tonight because it will take, in some cases, 30, 60 minutes to do it because it's thoroughly researching it. And even after it gets back with stuff, then I'll go in and I'll ask it for further, I'll give it further suggestions in terms of how I want the information. So here it is, searching for Syracuse area sponsor, looking for festival 2023, looking for sources, etc. It's going to build up an entire list of sources where it found this information. I can ask it at the end to give me that list. In some cases, it will put this on the right-hand side so I can go in and see those newspaper articles myself and look for things directly in it. And at the end of the day, it's going to give me the spreadsheet that has, when I ran this previously, it gave me a spreadsheet that had like 50 events, or not 50 events, but 50 sponsors, around the area that have sponsored various things that they, in other events. And then I can even ask it to see if there are sponsors that might be even more appropriate for our type of event, a duck race or whatever else it may be. All right. With that, that's the end of my presentation. Are there questions?
Ken, when you answered the questions that ChatGPT gave back to you, you didn't say question 1 and gave an answer. Question 2, you type something, you hit a period, and you type something else, hit a period. Does ChatGPT know that that's the nomenclature for answering the questions it posed to you?
It knows it, or it will ask me back if it doesn't.
Ah,
And I've learned that it's gonna, if I just put a comma in between the answers, it's smart enough to realize, what I was doing or asking for. Any other questions? Did you find this useful tonight? Great.
I got just wanted to share with the group. This past Friday, we had a Rotary Club meeting for the Rotary Club of Syracuse, and we had a club member who has written a book about the Angels of Bastogne, or remembrance of World War II. There are two nurses that worked in the field hospital in Bastogne during the Battle of the Bulge, taking care of enemy or U.S. soldiers who had been injured in the battle. These nurses, one of them was actually killed in the bombing of Bastogne, and they are buried in the neighborhood. And he went back with another person to honor these people with a ceremony for the nurses. So I was doing invocation. I got on my new Windows 365 word processing, and it said, give me a 500-word invocation about the Battle of Bastogne, Battle of the Bulge, nurses, and it came out with this wonderful invocation. I had to change maybe one or two things, but it was unbelievable. And it was in the word program. I didn't have to get into ChatGPT or Gemini or any of those. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, I did my friends, one of them was turning 50, and her and her husband were both tower climbers. So I asked ChatGPT to write a sonnet or a ballad about being a tower climber and retiring, and it did a phenomenal job. But they said he said he was crying reading it. So,
Ken, can you hear me? This is Brian O'Connell. Ken, can you hear me? Okay? This is Brian.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, this is Brian O'Connell. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes, Ken. So thank you very much. This has been spectacular.
Right.
I've been playing with probably all the 5 or 6 different models that have been available, all the free versions, but have become a little addicted to a presentation tool called Gamma. And actually paid for that one. And in many ways, you kind of burn through, you get out of it what you put into it, right? So then before you know it, it comes down to how creative can you be to ask the questions. And when I'm thinking of our club, probably like many, membership is waning a little bit. We're trying to reinvigorate it. We're trying to get some younger members, younger meaning under 50, right? And trying a bunch of different things. But as you can imagine, I think over time, as activities have slowed down, participation slows down, and it's a bit of a spiral, and we're trying to reverse that spiral. So the initiatives we're trying to take, I think if and when they work, will build a lot of momentum. But I'm trying to use these tools not to create the best looking piece of content or the most robust, news release, but more foundational in asking it, hey, give us a plan. Give us a plan. Here's a perfect example. At our meeting today, I asked who's in charge of the new the PR marketing, media committee, and I was told that I was. So that which is good, which is fine because I'm interested. But the simple questions I have in my mind is, okay, we got to refresh the website, and then I want to use the website, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, and I want to post something at least once a week. Is that too much? Is that too little? Do we do the website once a month, Facebook 3 times a week, Instagram once a week, LinkedIn every other week? Is it the same content? Is it different? I think we can get enough content around, hey, it's a picture and a bio of a speaker we had this week. Or if there's no meeting or there's no speaker, we'll do an interview with a member. Hey, what do you like about Rotary? So I think we can start to generate that, but the foundational questions about how to build momentum in the club, how to get more people involved, how to grow membership. I haven't come up with ideas yet to ask these tools that are giving me real tangible items. So I guess it's not about how to use the tool. It's more of you and anyone else on the call. I've come up with some magic dust, to solve some of these problems.
Well, and that's one of the things you'll see that I did the Rotaryship membership growth ideas topic here. And I just asked, could you please provide the 10 best prompts that Rotary clubs could use to analyze, review, brainstorm, or otherwise help them drive membership? And so these prompts are ones that you and your club can iterate on and then put into ChatGPT directly, along with information about your club to help, figure it out. Again, this is just one example of a prompt that you could use. You were talking about using, coming up with social media posts. I'll show you an interesting chat here. I don't know how it's going to work, but please review baldwinsville-rotary.org and provide a list of 10 Facebook posts about the club for the next 10 weeks.
Oh, so nice.
It's going to go and review the website, and then it will do specific things relative to projects and other things that we've done based on our calendar, based on our join us, based on the things that are on here. I could do the same thing. Please provide 5 LinkedIn posts of 500 words, 250 to 500 words about the club events that would be appealing to young professionals, or that would drive membership or whatever. And it references specific events that we're having just by looking at the website.
Okay, yeah, and it's raising some other thoughts that I have. And again, I'm sorry, it's probably likely not for this conversation. But peeling it back a little bit, thinking like I can create the greatest web or Facebook post, but it's only going to the Rotary Club members who follow our Facebook page. How do I expand beyond that? And I know I think we just have to be realistic and go pedal to the metal and expect slow and steady results and just not let up. I mean, I feel like that's where we need to be.
I just having done social media for my company and retaining a social media coordinator for the last 10 plus years, you never know what's going to resonate or what's going to hit.
Okay.
And so it's just consistency, good imagery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's very good. Thank you very much. And again, thanks for hosting this tonight. It's been great.
No problem at all. Any other questions? All right. With that, then I will bid everybody goodbye. Thank you very much for joining me. And again, Ken Schmidt, broadcast9@gmail.com. If you have or come up with any questions after you've had a chance to absorb all this content.
Ken, the material you're going to send us, would you include the ChatGPT assignment that you just gave it to see what the results would be?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep, not a problem at all. I'll put that out. It won't go out immediately, but you'll get it within a couple days.
Great.
All right.
Again, great introduction.
Thank you.
Thank you very
All
much.
right. Good night.